Alright, welcome everybody back to another late night stream of mine, although I have to admit that tonight it is not that late night. So for me it's relatively early around here, local time 10:30 Central Europe time, yeah. So, nice to have you with me again. And as you see, tonight we are doing, as usual, on Thursday nights, we are doing UBOAT. The wonderful open world submarine simulation where you slip into the role of a German submarine commander. And this game gives us the opportunity to do a complete playthrough in a campaign through the war from the very beginning in September 39. And as you see, looking here top left, we are end of June 43 by now. So this is, not 4 years, but the war is already ongoing since 3.5 years or more. And I am sharing the whole campaign on Twitch, so quite a few of you dear watchers are sharing your company with me since a long time, and so this is a nice adventure through this game. I'm playing at almost maximum difficulty level, and let me give you a bit of the big picture. At the moment we are stationed in the port of Bergen in Norway, and we are doing the Arctic Convoy mission set. And as you see, we already sank sufficient merchantmen so that we reached level 1 and level 2, and now we are going for level 3, but there is still almost 100 tons to be sunk to finally reach it. And things become rougher and rougher because equipment and tactics of the Allies become more and more sophisticated. They learn over the war, they get better equipment over the war. We as well, but I would say the Allies are actually gaining advantage, which is historically correct. And casting a little look backwards upstream in the history of this stream. And I started, as I said, in the year of 39, on the eve of the Second World War, in the port of Wilhelmshaven with a small tiny Type 2. You can choose, actually, if you like. You could also start already with the Type 7, or you could even start later in the war, but I love this idea of doing that whole playthrough, and I love the idea of earning your merits first with a small submarine. So this kind of, supports my roleplay approach, that you are an unknown captain, just trusted with the command of a Type 2 tiny submarine, few torpedoes, low range and low top speed. But as you see, we earned our merits in the North Sea and the close Atlantic, and as soon as France was occupied, we transferred to the port of La Rochelle, and by then we got promoted to be commander of a Type 7, which allowed us to go deep into the middle of the Atlantic. We successfully finished the Black Pit mission set, and that was when we first got access to milk cows. Large, bulky supply submarines which stay submerged all time, and you can actually go in and contact them so that you can refuel, restore and rearm. And this was actually the only possibility for us now finally to reach the Canadian and US coast, do an Operation Drumbeat, and even go down to the Caribbean or North coast of South America and do the attack on Aruba. Back from that, we switched our home port from La Rochelle to Bergen, and that's where we are right now. So things, as I said, are pretty rough. The convoys are heavily guarded by large escorts and even by by fleets of men of war, by aircraft carriers and whatnot. So yeah, as I said, things are becoming a bit rough over the time. Now allow me to do what I always do in the beginning of a new stream. Let's give it a save. Yeah, my saving and reloading policy is like that. I don't reload just because I have a few torpedoes missed, and I don't reload when a few of my crew die. I even didn't reload in critical situations when 1 or 2 of my officers died, but I would reload when the whole submarine gets destroyed. So I'm not playing that hardcore. Like, I pretty much admire these colleagues who are actually doing that, like bombing Fritz, for example, who really do the hardcore stuff, and yeah, when they die they start a new campaign, and that's pretty hard actually when you have been working on that one months in real life time, and then you die and just start anew. So respect, guys, but yeah, for us we do it in the way that, yeah, like when we die we actually do a reload. Now, at the moment we are doing a standard patrol in this area, so it's the routine. Going hydrophone checks every something like 6 or 8 hours, because yeah, with the hydrophone we get an enormous detection range, much further than we could ever have eyes on, and this is the routine right now. By the way, meanwhile, I see that a few people dropped into the chat, so thanks guys for joining. Good evening, it's a pleasure to have you. Don't feel observed, I don't know who you are, just see the numbers. But of course you are warmly invited to make yourself visible in the chat. Don't feel pushed, just lurking is perfectly fine for me to know that a few people care for what I do here. That's just nice. But of course I also love streaming for the sake of communication, particularly fascinated by this communication that you get over countries, over continents and across oceans. So back to the game. What you see down here, there's a message. So one of our crewmates seems to have something to say. And often this is not good news, so could be something like that it's a case of tuberculosis, or it might be that some of our stores are rotten. Let's see what we get.
Herr Kapitän?
A word on the boat indicates that Conrad Otto has been caught spreading communist propaganda among the men. He speaks of workers' rights and the failures of the Reich. How will you deal with this dissent? This needs to be handled by court-martial. That would mean that after returning to port, Conrad Otto would be brought for court-martial, and the crew's experience would increase. And suggest him to keep this more private. No immediate effects. So I mean, look at that. There is said no immediate effects. So I wonder if on the long run this might actually give me some trouble later. So I don't know, I never tried it. I have to admit that in the past, when this happened once or twice, I did choose the first path. But of course, deep inside myself, I would like to do the second. But yeah, that's not professional as a captain. So at that point, I would be very much interested in your estimation, dear chat. What you think, or maybe somebody of you already had that and tried out the second option. Hey, great thinking, nice to have you. How are you doing? How was your week up to now? Yeah, I'm fine. The week was kind of, yeah, it was alright. Relaxed, work-wise. I mean, not that I didn't have a few things to do, but at the moment I'm at least not too much under pressure and are about to finish a few things that need to be finished since a long time. And yeah, as I mentioned, I'm doing it mainly home office and at the moment, which allows me to sleep a little bit longer, which allows me in turn to do a little bit more streaming. And yeah, the kids and my wife are fine, having a good time. Yeah. Pretty alright. So, how are you? We are entering Friday, final stretch of the week. Yeah, it's pretty alright. I mean, there are times when I have some more pressure and so it changes, which is great. And yeah, like this week I even took a few times to do, also last week, to do some extended lunch break streaming. But well, whenever I do this usually means that I will have to work on the weekend. So it's not that relaxed as it may sound. Still, do you have any experience or anybody else in the stream with this little side story here? I'm a bit afraid to choose the second path. But, I mean, shall we really go into the roleplay thing and let me do it like I feel I would do it, I should do it? I think I would choose option 2 and let's see what is gonna happen. Never did that before. Let's just hope that this, in German we would say, dass uns das nicht auf die Füße fällt. Yeah, which is an idiom which you could probably not translate, but well, literally it's like, let's hope that this doesn't fall on our own feet, which means that it might be a bad decision which kind of comes back to us in a bad way later. Now, let's do a bit of a routine check. Do I really need 2 types of food? I don't think so. The cheese is perfectly fine at the moment. Yeah, the point is always when you offer different types of food, the total burn rate of food is increasing. But at the moment, well, I mean, the crew was just on 3 weeks of luxury shore leave, and so they should be happy for a while. Bilge, yeah, okay, we could turn on the pump for a few minutes. Hey guys, nice to have you in. As I used to say, I don't see your names, I just see the number of watches going up, which is great. Welcome. So, participate in the chat if you like, or just lurk, perfectly fine for me. Now it's 2 o'clock, we just had change of watch. Let's do some acceleration. Till, 6 o'clock in the morning will be the next change of watch. Oh, we have the gyro compass still turned off. Probably I forgot to turn it on again after last action. Good that I recognized that. So let's go for another few hours until we are turning eastward. Hey, come on, Mr. Schultz, you can do another shift on the map to bring up our navigation correctness up here, top right. And guys, please give me a hydrophone check. Yeah, now we are taking advantage of the physics reality that sound propagates with vast speed and over enormous ranges underwater. So while our view up here is pretty limited, when we dive we can actually gain quite an enormous range with the hydrophone. So we would detect just any moving propeller in an enormous range. So the crew assembling in the front compartment. This is all some kind of standard workflow, so you don't have to do all the micromanagement. Ballast tank is flooded fore and aft and everywhere. 2 crewmates have manned the depth steers, and down we go. Wow, I love this outside view underwater so much. So what happens if I order hydrophone check? The crew has this standard workflow: bring the boat down to 50 meters, stop the engines, and listen for something like 5 minutes to the hydrophone. Mr. Strauss manning the hydrophone, and I gave him the support of 1 crewmate, which increases the detection range a bit further. So at the moment the weather is relatively quiet, 11 knots, so we should have quite a good range, of a radius of 90 miles. 45 Meter.
Aktuelle Tiefe 50 Meter.
Yeah, this is now the patience thing, which from my point of view gives the game wonderful immersion, but it's no arcade game, it's no quick action thing. All the encounters are not scripted, but they kind of organically develop. So there are convoys passing by on real routes, and we now are about to search for them and hopefully find them. Yeah, for many jobs you can assign 2 sailors to the offices, but here there is only one workplace for the sailor, so it's only one. Okay, no contacts at the moment.
Anblasen.
Okay, so what's happening? Mr. Ahl is opening the valves to let compressed air stream into the ballast tanks and push the water out. So smart people back then figured out that it would take ages to get all the water out with a pump. So they push it out with compressed air. So highest priority when you come back to the surface actually is to use the compressors to restore the maximum amount of compressed air pressure in the stores. So here we are again.
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen. Kurs setzen.
Jawohl, Herr Kaloy.
Torpedorohr 3 gewartet.
2 o'clock will be the next change of watch.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
And on we go. So let's do a hydrophone check every 2 hours, every 2 watches, which is every 8 hours. Here we are.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen. Jawohl, ich kümmere mich.
Navigation besetzen.
And please give me the next hydrophone check. So now, here in this case, Mr. Grad is opening the vents to let the seawater stream into the ballast tanks to drag the boat quickly down underwater. Again, you see the crew, the off-watch crew has assembled in the front compartment to give additional ballast. 4 to get down, front compartment flooded, and stern ballast tank is about to be flooded. So, pretty straightforward why you would first flood the 4 ballast tank. Yeah, if you consider all this flooding and everything that was done manually with the experience of the crew and the officers, so there is so much possibilities for errors and so few margin.
40 Meter.
So,
Herr Kapitän?
yeah, you all know that so many submarines never returned back home, and I sometimes wonder, like, under stress, under pressure, and well, all of them get to not enough sleep there.
50 Meter.
What about human errors in operating the submarine? And I could imagine that just one single stupid human error while operating the valves, for example, would kill all the crew. Hey, not wet, just cold. So, I hope that my stream here might help you. So, what's the matter? Nothing going on at your side? Yeah, so you know that this game is not quick action, but maybe a little chat might cheer you up.
50 Meter.
Yeah, by the way, nice to have you in.
Meter.
Yeah, hydrophone checking. Yeah, I know that feeling when, well, you might have a few games in your Steam account, but yeah, sometimes there is none of those games which actually kind of, yeah, thrills you. So which games did you play lately, which you're kind of bored by now? Yeah, as for me, one game that I really want to try is coming out into early access just today. So I didn't yet start to download it, but I think I'm gonna get it shortly. The name is Solasta, the Crown of the Magister. Yeah, Dead by Daylight, Elden Ring, Night Rain. I have to admit that it's all games that I don't used to play. Night Rain, I don't know. Dead by Daylight, I think it's a game that I would like. And Elden Ring, yeah, as for me personally, it didn't quite convince me, I have to admit. I mean, from watching streams or YouTube videos. I can't even tell why. Yeah, it might be great, but I just didn't dig it from watching streams on YouTube videos. By the way, is Dead by Daylight, is it a co-op thing, a multiplayer co-op? I'm not quite sure.
Anblasen.
Okay, blow the tanks and we are going back to the surface. Mr. Grade opening the valves again for the compressed air, and there we go.
30 Meter.
Ah, it was like that, okay. So one player slips into the role of the killer and 4 into those kind of victims. Ah.
Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Yeah, I have to admit I never quite dived into it. Okay, interesting. Now that the captain is... hey! We have crew on the bridge. Yeah, okay, together with Mr. Schultz. I always had this problem since a while, that there would be no crew assigned for the watchout. So what happens if I send Mr. Schultz down? I think no other guys are gonna man the lookouts by then, and we will get that message. Let's see. And nobody's up there on the conning tower. Yeah, so that's weird. Since something like 2 months ago, it always worked that whenever there was no officer on the conning tower, 2 crewmates actually took over the lookout. And since then, I have no idea why it doesn't work anymore. And I tried out thousands of things about the prioritization here, tasks of the crew, and here C, I've put observation to pretty high priority, but just nothing happens. They're not manning the conning tower when there is no officer present. Yeah, no idea what the point is there. But however, let's carry on and do a bit of time acceleration. So 4 hours. Let's go 2 more hours. Ah, shit. Yeah.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung. Bestätige.
Here we are. Let's do another hydrophone check.
50 Meter.
Yeah, by the way, I'm doing single stream again. I actually, in 2 of my afternoon streams this week, I actually tried multi-stream again. The first one worked and the second one got interrupted again. So that's quite bad that Streamlabs desktop uses so unstable servers. And yeah, so whenever I do the single stream to Twitch, it's perfectly fine, but with the double stream to Twitch and YouTube at the same time, it's not working. And it's pretty clear that it's not due to my machine, it's not due to my internet connection, but it's probably just due to their servers, which don't stomach all the traffic. Now and then I just get too slow, so that you get kicked out of YouTube with the stream. Twitch is a little bit more tolerant. Actually, after that incident, YouTube even automatically restarted my stream and rerouted the visitors to that newly restarted stream. That was quite fascinating. At least it worked for a few of you, and some others reported that it didn't work, and they manually had to re-log into the new stream. So everything a bit unclear, but well. So I would pretty much love to do that parallel stream into YouTube, but yeah, not at the risk that the stream just gets interrupted every 1 hour 45 minutes.
Aktuelle Tiefe 45 Meter.
Torpedorohr 3 gewartet.
Yeah, Mr. Schneider is continuously
50 Meter.
doing the maintenance of the torpedoes, which is pretty important to do.
Torpedorohr 5
Yeah, so I always want to have the torpedoes well maintained.
Aktuelle Tiefe
You never
90
know
Meter.
what's happening. And there we go,
10 Meter.
back to the surface.
Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Change to diesel and on we go, pacing across the ocean on our restless vigil.
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
Another 2 hours till change of watch. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
And here we are. No, it's not 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's 2 o'clock at night. But yeah, you get a bit confused so far in the north, and it's in the middle of summer, so we had the midnight sun. And by now the sun is already rising again to the east. So if we would have checked it at midnight, maybe let's take a look next time when we reach midnight and take a look at the midnight sun. It should be a few fingers above the horizon. Let's go for another 4 hours and then do another hydrophone check. So 6 o'clock in the morning.
Navigation besetzen.
Ich benötige
And hydrophone check.
Tauchen auf.
There we go.
50 Meter.
Yeah, this is a bit of a chore now. But that's it. That is it. How it must have been in real submarine routine, daily routine. Sometimes feeling a bit tiring to do all these hydrophone checks again and again every 6 or every 8 hours.
aktuelle Tiefe 5
Auf
Meter.
E-Motoren wechseln.
And there we go. I mean, the whole movement of the submarine looks so consistent. So this is not just some simulated body on rails, but you really feel that there is physics going on. The leveling of the boat, the weight between fore and aft ballast tanks and everything, and the effect of the depth steers. That feels pretty physical.
40 Meter.
And all these details, this is what make me really love that game. Mr. Strauss at the hydrophone.
45 Meter.
Yeah, we have good weather, I think. Just 5 knots of wind speed, very calm. So we have the optimum hydrophone range. We should have, yeah, more than 90 miles. I think it's the second or the third update of the hydrophone that you can get. The first upgrade is crap because it's so fragile that just, yeah, any depth charge going off far away destroys that hydrophone. But the third one then becomes good, and maybe I already have the fourth one. Not quite sure.
45 Meter.
Hi guys, I see the number of watches going up. Welcome, nice to have you in. Yeah, don't be alarmed, I don't see you personally, I just see the numbers going up. Yeah, which is great, so don't hesitate to just lurk if you like. But let me mention that I'm always glad to have some participants in the chat. Just give a hi. Tell us what you think about the game, if you play it by yourself, what your experience is, where you're from, whatever you like. Or, as I said, don't feel pushed. Just lurk, silent, watch silently, whatever you like. Or maybe anybody feels like giving me a follow. Of course, that would make me particularly happy. Yeah, although, to be honest, it's not about the follows, but it's about the communication, the conversations, which I love so much. Wow. Just talking about communication. Hey, yeah, Raid, Captain Jimbo, Uncle Bot, Itsu Gamer, hey, welcome. That's so nice of you. Yeah, Captain Jimbot, thanks a lot for the raid. It's a pleasure to have you guys in. How are you doing, by the way? I think you did stream something different. I'm not quite sure. I think I saw something, but you didn't do UBOAT before, did you? Hey, it's a gamer. Thanks a lot for the follow. That's very much appreciated. Ah, yes, you have been playing Arma Reforger. Nice. I pretty much like Arma Reforger. Haven't been playing it for a while. I mean, I like it. I like I think, yeah, if you ask me, Arma Reforger is my recent favorite, like, combat or battlefield simulation. I love the communication system and everything. And, yeah, if you are so lucky to team up with a few guys who know the ropes and are a bit systematic, it's just beautiful. Yeah, I mean, do you have technical problems with Arma Reforger? I remember that it worked pretty alright. I just had to tune down, when I did stream, I had to tune down graphical settings, or generally since a while. When I put it on maximum, it actually killed my computer. Although I do have a pretty okay-ish graphics card, I would say, which would be a bit of an understatement, but if I put all the settings, the graphical settings of Arma Reforger to max, it just doesn't work. But if I tune it down a bit reasonably, it's perfectly fine and pretty stable. But I think even if you have the highest end graphics card, I don't have the highest end graphics card, but I do have a relatively high end graphics card. Even if you had the highest end, I think doing Arma Reforger on maximum settings would still give you trouble. Okay, yep. Weight loss. Nice to have you in. Good evening. How are you doing? Pleasure to have you. By the way, weight loss, there is one thing that I always wanted to discuss with you or hear your opinion. So now I'm relatively late in the war already. And since a while, the escorts are regularly equipped with hedgehogs. And so what I find a bit unrealistic is that you don't hear anything about the hedgehogs being fired. So the first thing that you hear about the hedgehogs is that they hit your hull. And this feels somehow unrealistic to me. And I would be pretty much interested in what you think about it as the expert in our stream for naval warfare. Can you? So, alright. So I have to learn how it sounds. I remember that I heard some weird sound now and then, but I was never able to really connect it to the hedgehogs. Yeah, and this is right, they are fired and then they would hit the surface. Yep. It's this one. Yeah, I remember that sound of a machine gun. Alright. So I was never sure about that. So good hint from yours for the future that this is actually the hedgehog sound. And you don't get a command. When it's fired, you just hear the sound, but you don't get a command from the hydrophone guy. And as you said, if it hits the surface, and it may be that they sink faster. This is what I think, that maybe these hedgehog grenades, that they are shaped in a different way, so they might sink faster than a depth charge. But it's still, I think it's kind of mortar-like, so when they're fired, they fly in a steep angle up and down again, so you have them being fired, then it would take a few seconds until they hit the surface, and still, although they drop faster, it should then still be a bit of time until they hit you. But actually I didn't have enough hedgehog experience up to now, and I'm gonna have to check it next time. So now that I'm sure that this machine gun sound originates from them being fired, let me see if it is gonna make more sense for me. Give it one more save. And sorry guys, I have to be AFK for just 1 minute. Don't go away. I just let the game go on. I think I don't have to pause it. I will just be back in a minute. The latest.
Torpedorohr 2 gewarnt.
All right, back again. Yeah, these catapults, yep. So in the game, they just drop the depth charges in a row. Yeah, but to be honest, I mean, that feels fine for me. For now. If I would put a top 10 list of things that I would like to have implemented in the game, for me personally, it maybe wouldn't be that about the depth charts. Hey Colin, great to have you. So guys, yeah, Colin, you were in the stream already a few days ago, but nevertheless, let me introduce you to the other guys, my dear friends. This is Colin, and yeah, Colin, he is. Yeah, we met the first time when I did the dual stream towards YouTube, and across YouTube we have always a nice conversation, always getting quite some good good hints and deep background knowledge about U-boat submarine warfare. That's just great. And even the more I'm happy when you drop into our Twitch stream. So I thought you were more a YouTube guy. So I'm very proud that you actually get into the stream here. Hey, Aqua Icing. Nice that you're there. Good evening. How's your day going? So, do you have that late shift? Well, is it late? I mean, yesterday, I think at that time, around that time, you were still at work, weren't you? Now let's carry on for another 6 hours. Yeah, Colin, you always suggested that I should decrease the time between the hydrophone checks. Yeah, I'm not sure, but to me 6 hours kind of feel alright, I would say.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
So let's go for another 2 hours. It's 10 o'clock, so here we are. And let's do the hydrophone check.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Yeah, this is what I imagined the hedgehogs to look like a mortar shell. So drop-like shape or something with fins.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
And down we go. So guys, fingers crossed that we get some contacts. Yeah, one type of food is fine because we just had the crew on shore leave. Okay, it's dropping. I hope that I would be inert a bit longer towards drop in discipline, but yeah, of course 99% is perfectly fine, and I think as soon as we are back to the surface we should be able to counter that. And listening again. Let's give it a bit of time acceleration. Five minutes, that's what the crew does standard wise.
Meter.
Anblasen.
And there we go, back to the surface. Mr. Hinrich probably has just opened the valves so that we have our compressed air pushing into the tanks to push the water out back there where it belongs, into the sea. And of course, as soon as the ballast tanks are empty, the boat should pop up more or less like a cork if everything works like it should. Back to the surface. No hydrophone contact again.
Betrachten Sie es als erledigt, Herr Kaloy.
Let's carry on. It's 12 o'clock lunchtime. 2 o'clock change of watch.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Wird erledigt, Herr Kaloy.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Natürlich, Herr Kaloy.
And now 6 o'clock in the evening. Let's do the next hydrophone check.
Navigation besetzen.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Yeah, I had that once. And they really give you quite some damage, yep. A a few evenings ago, a few streams ago, I actually had to reload after I was hit by a few of these hedgehogs.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5
And
Meter.
yeah, they actually sunk me. Back then I was actually able to close the leaks finally, but back then I was already dropping down and had taken so much water that it just dragged me down into the unfathomable depths of the Atlantic, and I got crushed. No.
Weckerleu 40 Meter.
10 knots of wind speed, yeah, that's still pretty good weather. But, okay, now we have turned off the engines, and this increases our listening range to something like more than 90 miles radius. That was what I would expect in this fair weather. And here we are. Standard hydrophone check again. Let's do that bit of time acceleration. 1 minute, 2 minutes,
45 Meter.
3 minutes,
Weckerleu
4 minutes, and 5 minutes.
Anblasen.
Yeah, that was pretty tough.
40 Meter.
So that was when I approached that convoy and the escort detected me. So on the second or third try, I at least managed to launch 3 torpedoes on a merchantman, but they all missed and I had to dive away.
40 Meter.
But at least I did survive then. And finally, I had to let that convoy go.
Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
There was just too much of an escort. Back again to the surface. Alright, Captain Jimbo, nice to have you in again. So you didn't miss anything spectacular. By the way, there's quite a swell going, isn't it? If you consider that we only have something like 10 knots of wind speed, my feeling is that the swell is pretty much going up. But, I mean, like in real life, the size of the waves does not always go linear with the wind speed. Beautiful, isn't that? I could watch that for hours. I might have mentioned that before, but I love it. Seeing the spray go up, shine in the sun, the bow cutting the waves. By the way, in some books that I read in English about naval adventures, they used the bow just in plural, like bows. So I'm never quite sure whether you would say bows or bow in English. Maybe bows is kind of obsolete language. Yeah, or maybe I'm completely wrong with that, but I think I read. Maybe it was even O'Brien who used it always like bows. Not quite sure actually.
setzen.
So on we go. It's 6 o'clock in the evening. Next change of watch would be 10 o'clock. Here we are. Mr. Schultz, you can do a second. Oh, no, you don't need to. We are at 150% of navigation correctness. So
Hilfe gebrauchen.
do your well-earned rest after your watch. So now 10 o'clock in the evening. Yeah, the sun is still up the horizon. Let's see what we get at 12 o'clock. Here we are, midnight sun. Yeah, the sun doesn't even touch the horizon up here, so far in the north. One other feature that I love about the game, that realistic cycles over the day and over the year, and also over the month. Like you have the cycles of the sun, of day by day, over the year, going up and down, and also the moon follows realistic cycles. And all that really impacts gameplay. Like me playing on, almost maximum difficulty level with dark nights. That means that it pretty much makes a difference whether you have a full moon shining on the scenery or if it is completely pitch black dark. And the same with the sun. Like right now, it's beautiful to do the Arctic missions in summer, but I'm not quite sure. I don't remember who mentioned that in the last stream, but somebody actually said, was it you, Aqua-Icing, I think? You said that you felt the Arctic missions to be a pain in the ass, because it was always dark, so for you it happened to be mostly in the winter then, I guess. Yeah, somebody mentioned it actually. You would say every 4 hours feels too far apart for you. Yeah. So maybe I should reduce my hydrophone checks a bit. I mean, I am considering that convoys move very slowly. So, change of watch again. Let's do the next hydrophone check. Okay, that's weird. No. Alright, here we are. And hydrophone check. Next hydrophone check, please. Yeah, okay, maybe I'm gonna reduce my diving schedule. Yeah, you could even do something here, but
40 Meter.
na.
Meter. Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloy?
No any contacts at the moment.
Meter.
Yeah, 50 meters, engine stopped. Silently listening down here. Yeah, the wind speed up there is moderate, so we should have some good range with the hydrophone.
Aktuelle Tiefe 45 Meter.
I mean, if we mark our position, like that. Now, and see how far we go. So this might give us an impression what our coverage actually would be with the hydrophone checks. Never did it that systematically.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloy?
Yeah, I always keep an eye on my bit rate of streaming, but as long as I'm just doing this single stream to Twitch, the bit rate is perfectly stable. Well, perfectly, it fluctuates a bit. It fluctuates around 6,000 kilobits per second. That's the maximum bit rate that is allowed to me by Twitch. I think if I weren't only an affiliate but a partner, they would give me more bitrate. Yeah, but yeah, now my stream is fluctuating around 6,000 kilobits per second by plus minus, let me say 200 or 300. And that seems to be pretty ordinary, but
Anblasen.
when I do the multi-streaming, the bitrate actually starts at some point to fluctuate much by much larger rates, and then sooner or later the stream would break down. And yeah, sorry YouTube guys, that's why I'm not doing the multi-stream regularly, although it's so great. I mean, like, I did the Bannerlord stream in multi-streaming and I got great feedback from YouTube actually.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Yeah, so maybe sooner or later I would have to try another streaming platform. Not Streamlabs, but some other. And again, no contact. So let's go for 4 hours. So Colin, you say that you consider 4 hours already being a relatively far apart distance. So if we go like 4 hours, next change of watch, and
Navigation besetzen.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe
do the
gebrauchen.
hydrophone check. Ah shit, nah. Wrong button.
Tauchen
Here,
auf.
that one.
50 Meter.
Ja,
So how far did we go? Yeah, less than the detection radius. So the detection radius would be something like that. And if you ask me, that looks pretty alright. This being something like radius of 90. Again here, a radius of 90. And to me,
5
this looks quite a fairly okayish coverage. Doing it every hour.
25 Meter.
Hmm.
Meter.
Yeah, we are going down. And yeah, any minute they are going to turn off the engine and then we get the maximum range. Like here we are. Even a bit more.
50 Meter.
Yeah, so fingers crossed that we get something. Yeah, but you said that from your experience it's pretty tiresome for the Arctic missions. And it's pretty hard actually to gain targets.
45 Meter.
Ah, by the way, I just remember that we are running out of bread. So I have to get some bread out of the deep freezer. Sorry guys, allow me to be AFK for 1 minute.
Aktuelle Tiefe 50 Meter.
All right, back again. Thanks for your patience. And on the way, I got me a pretzel.
45 Meter.
So, little late night snack. So sorry if I molest you with a bit of some munching noises. Yeah, actually I'm having a glass of apple cider actually at the moment. Yeah, I used to dilute it a bit with soda. And by the way, just see that we have a few more watches in the stream. Yeah, I'm always afraid to mention it like that because I sometimes have the gut feeling that people feel like being observed and just drop out of the stream again. But yeah, you're not. I don't see your names, I see nothing. I just see that the number of watches has been going up a bit. And that's perfectly fine. So for me it's great if there is just a few people watching, silently lurking. Of course, communication is what I do this streaming for, but yeah, don't feel pushed. Just watch if you like to. And if you feel like participating in the chat, don't hesitate. And excuse me for a bit of the munching noises by now. Just having a pretzel. So what else would I have as a late night snack than a pretzel? Well, I'm a German. Yeah, actually I'm not from southern Germany, and I would say that pretzels, this is some kind of special thing in southern Germany, or it was. But I spent quite a few years in southern Germany. Yeah, in total something like 8 years. And
Anblasen.
so it looks like these guys from southern Germany somehow infiltrated my brain, and now I love pretzels.
40 Meter.
And back to the surface, and again,
20
no
Meter.
hydrophone contact. Yeah, my gut feeling says me that 4 hours between the hydrophone checks is alright. So here we are, 10 o'clock in the morning.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Tauchen auf. 50
So,
Meter.
next check. Again, it should be something like, yeah, the wind is pretty calm, only 5 knots of wind speed. So it really should be something like that. So now it's even only 3 hours. Nice, in Kitzbühel. Yeah, Kitzbühel is a pretty famous skiing resort, isn't it?
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter. E-Motorenwechsel. Meter.
Yeah, I've never been there, but a few friends of mine had been there for skiing holidays.
Meter. Meter.
Yeah, I've been living in Stuttgart actually for something like 4 years, and another 4 years close to Kempten,
45
which is
Meter.
pretty far south in Bavaria. Yeah, so we were crisscrossing through Germany. A few years in Berlin after that, and now we have settled down in the Frankfurt area, west of Frankfurt.
50 Meter. Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle. Meter.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds nice. Yeah, and yeah, and the name is so very stereotyped. It sounds so like Austrian or Southern German. That's just beautiful. I mean, I pretty much like these kind of local touches, the local accents. Although I so often had a bit of trouble understanding them. But yeah, I think that's some nice local touch that we still have here in, yeah, southern Germany, Austria, Switzerland. And so even the more I like these kind of names when you really hear where people might come from. Of course, nowadays this kind of more and more vanishes because people are so mobile. And still no contact. Mr. Strauss being accompanied by Mr. Rossmann from the crew. And they are listening. Yeah, just a bit of water in the bilge, nothing to worry about. Okay, yeah, alright. St. Anton, yeah. Yeah, St. Anton is also, I think St. Anton is one of the most famous skiing resorts in Austria, isn't it? And I haven't been in St. Anton and I haven't been in Kitzbühel, but I actually had been in Linz. My wife and me, we did a biking tour a few summers ago, and that brought us across Linz. And yeah, I remember that. Overall, we had pretty good weather on that tour, but to be honest, this day in Linz, I think it was bucketing down like hell. Raining and raining. And on we go.
setzen.
10 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Jawohl, Herr Kalle.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Next hydro check.
Auf 50 Meter.
Still pretty fair weather. So we should cover this one next. I mean, if you consider that the whole procedure of diving only takes something like 15 minutes to go down, hydrophone check and go back up again, it's in real life it would be pretty reasonable to do it all 4 hours. I don't know how they did it. I mean,
Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
most input I have about U-boat warfare is from that wonderful movie, Das Boot. And in the movie, it didn't quite come like a routine.
25 Meter.
I'm pretty sure that it was a routine, but in the movie, I would say it was not quite transported like that. If I remember right.
40 Meter.
Okay, there we are. Checking again.
Meter.
Yeah, if I look now at these circles, I think I would stretch the time periods a bit. So not doing it every 4 hours, but maybe doing it every 8 hours. No, let's do every 6 hours. Yeah, when I look at the time, I mean, in real life, I'm a bit confused because usually I only start my streams at this time right now, and now we are already 1 hour and 40 into the stream because I started streaming relatively early tonight.
Meter.
Yeah. Yeah, my family and me, we spent a few skiing holidays also in Austria, but we went to a small resort which was in the Pitztal, which is the Pitz Valley. But I don't think that it's well known across borders. But still, there is a glacier. And there is, yeah, kind of this special train going up to the glacier. And so up there it was relatively safe to have good snow. But also below the glacier it was alright. Relatively small skiing resort, I would say, so not so much about partying, more like a family resort.
Torpedorohr 2 gewartet.
Yeah, I never went skiing when I was young. My parents didn't, so, well, actually I grew up at the lower Rhine region, pretty far away from any mountain. So in an area where it is completely flat. Maybe one of the most flat parts of Germany. But a lot of my friends actually went skiing back then when I was young. I never did. I only started skiing when I was living in southern Germany. So my wife actually taught me how to ski. But that was when I was something like, approaching my 30s actually.
Herr Kapitän?
Still no hydrophone contact. Food-wise, we are still fine. We are nourishing on the cheese.
Anblasen.
And there we go, back to the surface.
Meter.
Meter.
Yeah, in holiday we used to do downhill skiing,
Dieselmotoren wechseln.
but I remember the time we lived in that village in Bavaria. And yeah, back then that was nice because in winter you could just put on your Nordic skis and then do some hiking just from your doorstep. Okay, so yeah, to be honest, you know a lot more than me about skiing. Okay, so the Olympics were held in Kitzbühel back then. Didn't know that, to be honest. Okay, what was that? Any contact? Any irregularity? So it's 6 o'clock in the evening. And I think I would like to go 2 hours further for the next hydrophone check. So 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Let's do it here.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Yeah, we still have pretty fair weather. Well, only 3 knots of wind speed.
Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle. Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
E-Motoren wechseln.
50 Meter.
So now it should be 5 minutes.
45 Meter.
Anblasen.
And there we go, back to the surface.
30 Meter.
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
Bestätige.
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
10 Meter.
And there we are.
Auf diese
Back to the surface. It's 8 o'clock in the evening. And well, summer in the north. The sun is well above the horizon at that time.
Betrachten Sie es als erledigt, Herr Kaloy.
By the way,
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
maybe I should give it a save. I didn't for a while. And let's go for 4 more hours until the next change of watch. 12 o'clock, so we could admire the midnight sun again. Yeah. June. 30th of June. We are just in the middle of the year. So this is the highest position of the sun that you get in the north at midnight. Yeah, in real life I never saw the midnight sun. We once went to Iceland in summer, but we only stayed in these parts here. So it never went dark at night, but it never was really midnight sun. So late in the evening the sun finally vanished underneath the horizon, but it never went completely dark. Okay, yep. Innsbruck. Yeah, right. That rings a bell. Two more hours, 1 hour,
Eine weitere
2 hour.
Umfrage erfolgreich abgeschlossen.
Yeah, okay, so we finished the mission now, just because we traveled far enough in the mission area. But what to do now? So 79% of fuel. We could go for the milk cow actually and refuel and then head further east and see what we get. Shall we do that? I don't want to get home like that. Okay, we finished the mission, but
Kurs setzen.
Bestätige.
I don't want to come home without any sunk tonnage. So let's get up there, or let's give it another save for now. W348, and then go for the milk cow, and then go for Murmansk and see if we are lucky to detect some convoys closing in there. Yeah, okay. Quite amazing. I mean,
Rohr 1 gewartet.
are you still in contact with them? So if I consider my cousins, I have to admit that over the last years, our contact has really been, yeah, let me call it, falling asleep a bit. And I always have a bit of a bad conscience about that.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
So let's go there. 3, 4, 5, and 6 o'clock. Another change of watch. So let me briefly check which quadrants actually count for the Arctic convoys. AF, AB, AC. Okay, so as long as we are here, every ship that we sink around here will count for the Arctic convoys mission, but not up there. So let's see. This is gonna be like to be up there. Let me save and allow me to be AFK for 1 more minute. I have to get me a glass of water. Okay, nice to have all of you still in the stream, and good that nothing bad happened. Ah, by the way, we could man the radio and send the report to the headquarters that, in principle, the patrol is completed. But nevertheless, we are not forced to come back home. We could continue. So enjoy your off watch again. Yeah, Captain Jimbo. It was a pleasure to have you in, and thank you very much for the raid with your guys. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna continue streaming tomorrow night. So, have a good one, and looking forward to see you again. Bye bye, Captain Jimbo. So, UK versus US, wasn't that? So, I don't know if Uncle Bot is still in. I remember that you were kind of joking about the way of speaking in the UK and the US. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I mean, what's the saying? Real life first, right? So have a good night. And maybe see you tomorrow. Yeah, Perth. Let me check briefly on Google Maps. If I googled, of course, I only get the Australian Perth, but I think we're. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. I wasn't aware. I think I'm not quite sure. Have I ever been to Perth? I think not. I have been passing by Perth several times for sure, but I think I never have visited the town. Yeah. Just a bit north of Edinburgh. Yeah, did that ever, I think maybe I did. Did I tell the story when I first went to Glasgow? So I had spent a few months already in Edinburgh, and I thought that I was slowly getting at least a bit of command of the language. And then I went to Glasgow for a day trip, and I was completely lost with the accent of the people in Glasgow. The Glaswegians, they are really special with their accent. As I said, I pretty much appreciate these kind of local accents, but yeah, I'm not very good with it. And back then, my English was not very good, and I was just starting, yeah, to manage it. And so it was completely disillusioning and disencouraging this one-day trip. In terms of, yeah, I really didn't understand what people said to me. By the way, shall we do one more hydrophone check?
Auf 50 Meter.
Yeah, meanwhile, at least, I mean, if people have that slight Scottish accent, this is my gut feeling that I'm understanding a Scottish accent better than other parts of, UK. Like, for example, on our last summer trip to Ireland, I think the Irish accent, if they don't speak their very local Gaelic or something, but when they just speak English with their local accent a bit, I think it's relatively similar to the Scottish accent. Isn't it? I mean, I don't know. I hope that I don't piss you off with something like that, but my feeling is from, the conversations that I had, that the Scottish people and the Irish people feel somehow close. I think there is no animosities between them, is it?
Aktuelle Tiefe 40 Meter.
Yeah, okay. That's the point, yep. That makes a difference. And it still does, right? I mean, I think most of the Scottish usually were very pro-European, weren't they? That's at least what I understood, that many Scottish are pretty pissed off by the exit, by the Brexit. But yeah, maybe I should not put my nose too deep into foreign politics, which I don't understand in detail. Yeah, sorry for that.
Jawohl. 45 Meter.
Yeah, so that's what I'm always saying. It's like on your job, no politics and no religious discussions. So here we are again. Let's just mark it to give us a bit of an impression what we actually check out. Okay. From Yorkshire. Yeah. But yeah, I think, Yorkshire is very northern English, right? Isn't Yorkshire right next to Scotland? I mean, does Yorkshire have a border with Scotland? That would be my guess. I'm not 100% sure, but York is very far north, isn't it? I mean, from English point of view.
Anblasen.
Herr Kapitän.
Okay, again, no contact. And on we go.
25 Meter. Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Herr Kaloy, wir sind aufgetaucht.
10 o'clock in the morning. Weather is fine. Bit of a swell. 9 knots of wind speed, which is relatively calm if you consider how far north we actually are. Yeah, now my goal is to rendezvous with the milk cow and get myself refueled, get some more food if necessary.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen. Jawohl, ich kümmere mich darum.
So let's do one last hydrophone check.
Etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Herr Kapitän?
Ja?
Tauchen auf.
Before we finally rendezvous with the milk cow. Okay, so, yeah, alright.
Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle.
Oh wow, no, I was completely wrong. Yeah, I just check it on the map.
Aktuelle Tiefe? 5
Auf
Meter.
E-Motoren wechseln.
I somehow thought York to be much further north. Yeah, so yeah, that was pretty wrong.
Torpedorohr 4 gewartet.
Good that I checked it. So maybe I mixed it up with Newcastle. Okay, yes. So then there is Newcastle, and maybe Newcastle is one of the last larger English towns right before the Scottish border. And there is Northumberland. Yeah, I see.
40 Meter.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. Somehow I had it in the back of my mind that York would be much further north. Maybe it's from the movie Braveheart. Just comes to my mind that I think in the movie the Scottish actually lay siege to York and conquer it. And that's maybe the reason why I thought that York must be further north. Still checking the hydrophone. And no contacts. No contacts. Let's accelerate time a bit
50 Meter.
Torpedorohr 2 gewartet.
and then go for the final stretch
Gewartet.
Anblasen. Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Herr Kaloy,
to reach our milk cow. Let's go. Six o'clock in the evening. Change of watch again.
Unterstützung.
So you saw Mr. Strauss going to bed because he's pretty tired. Handing over to Mr. Hinrich. And now Mr. Schulz is on watch, so let him care for the navigation table. Yeah, that's so great. I mean, all these towns in the UK and also in Scotland, all of these towns have a twin somewhere in the New Worlds. Like Perth in Australia, like Halifax in Canada, like York in the US. Yeah. There we are. Now let's see, we should now already be able to radio the milk cow. Let's see if it works. Let's first give it a save. And try what we can do.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloin?
Mr. Strauss to the radio, please. And
Ich benötige etwas Unterstützung.
request resupply. Let's see. There we go. Let's hope that it works. It should.
Funkspruch erhalten.
Resupply is currently possible at U461. Rendezvous coordinates, blah blah. Supply ship will wait there for 1 day. Coordinates added to the map. Alright. Alright, there they are.
Kurs setzen.
So let's go flank to make sure that we don't miss the guys.
Diesel besetzen. Äußerste Kraft
So,
voraus.
Mr. Grada, it's your off watch, but we need you for a while. Change of watch. Yeah, Mr. Schultz, you can turn in. And let's go for another 4 hours. There we are closing in. On the rendezvous position.
Mastspitze. Kleine Gruppe. Peilung. 0 Grad. U-Boot. 355
Okay.
Grad.
There they are. That must be the milk cow. Nice. Good navigation job.
Kurs setzen.
Yeah, not too much trouble in the game. So with this we come back to my suggestion. What would be pretty high on my priority level for the developers to implement into the game would be some real navigation, so that you never see yourself on the map, but you actually have to determine your position on the map with dead reckoning by the help of clocks and checking sunset, sunrise and lunchtime, and by using a sextant actually. That would be, I would pretty much enjoy if you could turn that on as an additional challenge. Yeah, this is what I love so much about DayZ. So you play that, you are hiking in that open world, and at least as long as you don't play on highly modded servers, you don't have a map. As long as you don't find one in the game, and if you have a map, you don't see your position on the map. And that would be nice to have that here as well. Hey, yippee up. Nice to have you in. So we are already something like 2 hours, more than 2 hours into the stream, because today I started relatively early. So great to have you from the US. How are you doing? So we are closing in, and now we are moving too fast. There we are. So let's change course a bit to make sure that we don't run into them. Getting closer and closer, and come on, let's take a little bit of a cinematic view. That's us. And that's them. That's this bulky colleague. And he's having a smoke.
Alle Maschinen stopp.
And let's stop. Now, let's give it a save. Hey, Colin. That's a great joke, and that's real life. A small village called Dull being twinned with Boring in Oregon. That's amazing. Yeah, yippee up, nice. So, yeah, around here, school still goes on for something like 2 weeks, I think, and then there will be Easter holiday around here, at least for 2 weeks. Did I save? No. Send a delegation to the milk cow. So let's send our chief engineer, our first mechanic, and the bosun. There they go, and 6 hands, 6 crew hands. Come on, guys. So if we were looking into the right direction, we would see, oh, there, you see the Zodiac coming in from the left. Nice little animation. Yeah, okay, so I mean, are you done then? Are you actually changing to high school after that, after spring break? So, show me your cargo. And see what we can get. Yeah, nice. Some more vegetable, that's always welcome. But we don't need food, actually. We are fine with items, fine with torpedoes. No. Let's refuel ammo. By the way, did we fire? I think we didn't. Yep. Food is alright, equipment is alright. So this was mainly about fuel. So guys, return to the ship. yeah, it will take 7 hours to get the stores on board. Yeah, the crew is about to return. I mean, this away team is about to return. So Aschaffenburg. Yeah, okay, Aschaffenburg. It's not that far away from Frankfurt, actually. A colleague of mine actually lives in Aschaffenburg, and he is commuting job-wise from Aschaffenburg to Frankfurt. So, goodbye supply ship, goodbye milk cow, and let's go for yeah, let's go hunting. Yeah, I mean, wouldn't it be an opportunity? I remember that these kind of changes always gave me the opportunity to meet new people, make new friends. And so, looking backwards on these changes afterwards, it always seemed to have been good changes. Because whenever I had these kind of changes, I made quite a few new good friends.
Halbe Fahrt voraus. Navigation besetzen.
So does it change something for your way to school? Do you have to go longer then, or is it similarly close? No, we did it. We resupplied. And here we are. Back to 100% in terms of fuel. Yeah, if it's even closer, that's positive. One positive thing.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen. Bestätige.
So before we do the next hydrophone check, I would like to get into a bit into the quadrants where sinking ships would actually matter for our Arctic Convoys mission. Yeah, okay. Well, I really couldn't judge that, but I was always kind of hoping that maybe this was kind of European prejudices, and that maybe in real life over there with you it wouldn't be as bad as people would kind of have the impression here on the other side of the pond.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Betrachten Sie es als erledigt, Herr Kaloin.
Zeit für eine Auszeit.
So what's going on with the routine of my hydrophone guys?
Hier etwas Unterstützung.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry to hear that. Mm. Yeah, I just keep my fingers crossed that it's gonna turn out to be alright.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Natürlich, Herr Kaloi.
Yeah, so shall we do the next hydrophone check?
Tauchen auf
Here we
50
go.
Meter.
Again, Mr. Arlos opening the valves, the off-watch crew running to the front compartment where Mr. Schneider is still doing his routines about torpedo maintenance. Ballast tanks being flooded. That steers pointing downwards, by the way. Yeah, sooner or later we could turn on the pumps and down we go. Down we go. Whoosh.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloi? 25 Meter.
Okay, yeah, amazing.
40 Meter.
Yeah, maybe there is some kind of traditional Volksfest at Aschaffenburg where such a brass band could perform, something like that. I think most of the Bavarian towns, they have something like, yeah, like in Munich, the Wiesn, the Oktoberfest. I think you have something like that in most of the Bavarian towns and cities, and
45
yeah, they might always like to have a brass band to give some performance. There could be at least one more that I know of. One more American, which is Uncle Bot. He's American, but I'm not sure if he's still in the stream. And for the others, I think it's mostly, yeah, UK, maybe one or two Germans, and Canadian.
20 Meter.
Listening again. But still no contacts coming in. Yeah, so I am curious as well. Any more guys from the US or from Canada in the stream still? Or maybe South America just as well?
Torpedorohr 5 gewartet.
Yeah, alright. Yep, yep. But it was a pleasure that you dropped in. So have a good one. Maybe we see in my next stream tomorrow. Would be great. See ya and have a good rest of the day. And thanks for using my beautiful little icons, emojis. Still checking.
Anblasen.
There we are.
Auf diese
Back to
Motoren.
the surface.
Herr Convoys,
Still no contacts. Maybe we could kind of zigzag something like,
Koordinaten setzen.
yeah, like that.
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
Maybe that would make sense. So let's carry on. We do have plenty of food again, of fuel, I mean, food as well.
ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Bestätigen.
And, yeah, come on. Let's do the next hydrophone check now.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
So here we are again. You see the off-watch crew running to the front compartment, Mr. Grada opening the valves. So now water is streaming in. Flooding the ballast tanks. The depth steers pointing downwards. And so there we go.
Aktuelle Tiefe.
Next hydrophone check.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloin? Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung. 20 Meter. 50 Meter.
Yeah, nice. In the Dordogne region. That's a beautiful,
Torpedorohr 4 gewartet.
beautiful area of France.
65 Meter.
Isn't this where these prehistoric caves are? Where they found these very, very old prehistoric paintings on the walls of caves, and isn't that Dordogne? Yeah, I see you're still a few years older than me, because at that time I was, yeah, maximum going to the kindergarten. If at all. Again, listening and listening. Yeah, let's give it a bit of time acceleration.
Anblasen.
There we go, back to the surface.
25 Meter. 5 Meter.
There she comes, back up again.
Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Herr Kaloi, wir sind aufgetaucht.
And yeah, let's turn on the pump
Lenzpumpe einschalten.
for a few minutes. Completely uncritical, but yeah, if we don't get the water out of the bilge, it might become smelly. But, well, actually in the submarine it wouldn't make much of a difference, actually. Because you would have a hell of a stink there anyway, I guess. I really wonder if you could vent the submarine properly. You would need to have some hatch before and some hatch above, which you could open in fair weather to get some draught into the submarine. And yeah, and we have the ventilation. All right, let's carry on. Our ceaseless patrol. Next change of watch. Here we are. Well, Mr. Schulz, if you were so kind, and just do one more
Navigation.
shift at the navigation table.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Yeah, next hydrophone check. Yeah, we still have pretty fair weather.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
Yeah, again, hydrophone check means that standard workflow where the crew brings the boat down to 50 meters, stops the engines, and does listen to the hydrophone for 5 minutes in complete silence off the depth. And after 5 minutes, bring the boat back to the surface. So no micromanagement necessary, the captain just orders and it's clear what the crew has to do. This is pretty realistic.
50 Meter.
Oh yeah, I remember now that you say it. Le Gouffre du Pas d'Irak. Yep. Le Gouffre du Pas d'Irak. I think we went there once, yeah. Yeah. In the cave system. Yeah, we have been there. It's a bit of a time ago, but we spent a few holidays on the Atlantic coast of France in the Gulf of Biscay. I mean, yeah, it was just west of Bordeaux, and
Aktuelle Tiefe
on the way
50 Meter.
back we used to do some so it took us, we didn't just drive all the way from France back to Germany, but we took something like 4 days for the drive and visited some areas en passant, to put it like that. And yeah, I think we had been there. Quite amazing. Yeah, and so fascinating this, to learn about that prehistoric life and to look back how long man is already developing on Earth. And back then they really were men, they were not just apes. They were using tools and developing things and clothing and had tribes and social structures back then. And I don't know how long is it ago. Might well be something like 20,000 years. I'm no expert on that, but I mean, late Stone Age would be something like, I don't know, 8,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago. Maybe more, 8, right? And I guess that these sites there are much older. Yeah, these time periods actually show how tiny we are.
Jawohl.
And still no contacts.
Anblasen.
Accelerate
Auf
time
diese
again
wechseln.
and carry on.
Leute sind aufgetaucht.
So it's 12 o'clock, lunchtime. Let's just go on. 2 o'clock, change of watch.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen. Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
And let's go on for 4 hours and then do the next hydrophone check. Here we are.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Versteht
Navigation besetzen. Tauchen auf.
So
50
please,
Meter.
guys, give me the next hydrophone check. Yeah, contacts turn out to be very rare in the Arctic Convoys mission. At the very beginning, I had 1 or 2 patrol missions where I ran into loads of ships, but now I am not.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
Meter. Schraubengeräusche.
Ah, we got a contact. Finally, we have a contact. Big group. Where is it? Nice. It's moving away, but that's not an issue. So let's wait until we stop the engines. That might still improve our detection. Yeah, that Pan-Celtic festival. What was it about? I mean, like all the Celtic culture from Ireland to the north of France, something like that. Yeah, no. Let's get their position. Now we have a contact, a convoy, and it is moving towards Murmansk. Convoy 01. That's first contact. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that they are moving more or less due west. Due east, I mean. Probably zigzagging. Large scale zigzagging. Yeah, as soon as we get back to the surface, I want to head straight for them. Okay, of course, later we are gonna have to circumnavigate them, but now to figure out their rough course and their speed, extrapolating their course, interpolating their speed, we would first head straight for them. And yeah, they are still pretty far away. 65 miles. If it were a standard convoy, they would be moving with something like 7 or 8 knots. Yeah, finally. Well, I would be curious how it sounds like. Medium range. Why don't I hear anything? That's a bit weird. I don't even hear the creaking of that wheel. Okay. So that's how it sounds on that distance. Do we also hear it like that? Okay, see, when they are that far away, 60 miles, we don't hear anything on these settings. We only hear them when we go like that. All right, good to know. Okay, yeah, what is it? Yeah, Scotland, of course. Ireland, Wales. Okay, I wouldn't have thought of Isle of Man. Brittany. Brittany is then this northwestern part of France, isn't it? Yeah, Cornwall, of course, the southwestern part of England. And Galicia, is this the Spanish? Galicia? Do they also, I mean, the name implies it somehow. Galician, Galicia. That's this northern Spanish province, right? Never thought about it, but of course the name implies that they have Celtic origins.
Rohr 5 gewartet.
I actually thought that these parts of Spain were dominated culturally by the Goths. Do you call it like that in English? Goths, Gothic culture? But Celts must have been there before the Goths came in. If you know what I mean. I don't know if the term translates like that. In Germany we would say die Goten.
35 Meter.
Alright, so
15 Meter.
now, Mr. Grader, it's your off-watch shift, but nevertheless, I need you at the engines.
Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Herr Kaloi, wir sind aufgetaucht.
Diesel besetzen.
So please give me flank speed. Flank speed towards the convoy. Let's keep it safe at that point. Yeah, maybe we would go for 2 hours. Let's give it an estimate. If we move on for 2 hours, 1, so we would end up here roughly, and them for 2 hours. If we assume that they are more or less on a western course, so 7, say 8 knots, so after 2 hours they should be somewhere here on that circle. And our distance by then, yeah, still being decent, far enough away not to get caught by their radar.
Torpedorohr 1 gewartet.
Yeah, interesting. Like I said, I never was thinking about that they might also have still these Celtic roots there, but yeah, the name implies it. And you say it. Amazing. So I guess they are playing football there, don't they? I mean rugby. They are also a rugby culture then, probably. So of course this is a bit too stereotype, but this is what I would think. I mean, playing rugby and playing the bagpipes, something like that. So now it's 6:15 in the evening. Let's go for 2 hours. One hour. And one more hour. 2 hours.
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
Now let's do another hydrophone check and see where they are right now. This will give us the second data point. And with 2 data points we can estimate a course and a speed.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
Meter. 40 Meter.
Schraubengeräusche. Große Gruppe. Peilung 345.
All right. Let's see where they are. Not too far away from my guest position. So now 17 miles. As we were traveling for 2 hours, it means they did 17 miles in 2 hours, which is a bit more than 8 miles per hour. And 1 mile per hour is 1 knot, so we know that they're traveling with roughly 8 knots. That's the idea. But yeah, the course feels a bit surprising.
50 Meter.
Okay, yeah, might well be they're heading this direction. Let's see where it would bring them towards. If we have it like that,
45 Meter.
they would go on like, yeah, okay. Yeah, maybe sooner or later they should turn their course a little bit more due eastward. We will see. Yeah, let's finish the hydrophone check. You never know if there might be other convoys around. I think I'm gonna stay on that course for now. I don't want to go straight for them, but maybe see that we sneak around them on their south side, on their starboard side. By the way, let's check the galley. Okay, so all this running. So food, cheese is down to 6. Let's resupply the galley with preserved pork. And what about the discipline? Okay. Discipline is going down a bit. Let's see what it will be like when we are back on the surface with having 2 different foods. Should be all right by then.
Herr Kapitän?
Yeah, they are moving on. Of course. Well, it's just 5 minutes.
Anblasen.
30 Meter.
Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Herr Kaloy, wir sind aufgeteilt.
And there we are, back to the surface. Now let's do some more extrapolation. If we continue with that speed, we would end up here after another 2 hours, and they would end up here after another 2 hours. Distance would still be 35 miles, which I think is far enough not to get into their radar range. So give it a save. And yeah, it might be that this convoy again is accompanied by a military task force and having a carrier. Looking at the weather, it's 11 knots of wind speed and fairly well, yeah, fairly nice visibility. And it's 20 past 8. So let's go. Twenty past 9.
Navigation besetzen.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen. Jawohl, ich kümmere mich darum. Ja?
And go until 20 past 10. So that would be another 2 hours. And so my dead reckoning was pretty alright. Here we are. We already already have clouds, smoke clouds over the horizon? Nope. Yeah, they're just too far away, still more than 30 miles. Let's give it another hydrophone check.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Okay, yep.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
So I guess the Spanish are not part then of the Five Nations Cup, are they?
25 Meter. Schraubengeräusche. Große Gruppe. Peilung 320 Grad.
Okay, we have the contact again.
45 Meter. Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle.
And they are pretty well close to the position that I predicted or extrapolated.
Meter.
And as discussed before, 30 miles. Maybe I could just stick to that course, trying to overtake them.
Meter.
Yeah, giving it a bit of time acceleration.
Hier gewartet.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloy?
Anblasen.
35 Meter.
Auf diese
Alright, back to the surface.
Wir sind aufgetaucht.
And let's continue the chase. Wow, that's a pretty large convoy. 30 to 60 ships.
Herr Kaloin,
Ja?
Yeah, let's maybe shorten the periods. Ah, yeah, it's the Six Nations, not the. I think I said the Five Nations Cup, yeah. Hey, Volvolu. Nice to have you in. So, as for me, I kind of like rugby, but I'm not the least an expert. I think Colin is, in a way. At least 500% more than me. A good friend of mine had been living in Switzerland for quite a long time, and he had been playing in a rugby team there. Ah, okay, yeah. Okay, I actually wasn't aware that you do play rugby in your country. Well, I don't know, maybe you have mentioned it before, but I just didn't have it on the radar. What surprises me a bit is that we still have the propellers listening, although we are on the surface. Okay, yeah, all right. Yeah, I guess French is the second language down in your home country, isn't it? Okay, so you have to excuse me for calling it the Five Nations Cup because, well, I was visiting Scotland in the 90s, so at the back then it was still the Five Nations Cup. I understand. Yeah. Yeah, fingers crossed. I would, in any case, be on the side of the Scottish team. So back to the surface. Let's go for another 16 miles, 1 hour. What about them? And this time they would go for 8. And we would still be fairly far away, I think. Yeah, okay, I see that we have two experts here. Yeah, fingers crossed. I am with you. Let's give it a save and go for one more hour. Quarter to 11. Let's go for quarter to 12. We are in the middle of the night, but of course we have the midnight sun, so it's not dark at all. So just to be sure, let's do another hydrophone check.
Auf 50 Meter.
Torpedorohr 2 gewartet.
Kapitän,
What about the weather? Well, wind speed 10 knots, it's still pretty moderate.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5
Auf
Meter.
E-Motoren wechseln.
Schraubengeräusche. Große Gruppe. Peilung 325 Grad.
Alright, there we have them again. A
25
bit
Meter.
further than I guesstimated, but that's probably just because, yeah, we lost a little bit of time from our diving, and in this time they went a bit further. So I don't think that I have to adjust my expectation of their speed.
45 Meter.
It will be 8 maximum, 8 knots. Okay, this Saturday is the next match. Do you know the time? I'm sure you know. Could you tell me when the game actually starts, when the kickoff is?
Meter.
Maybe I would check. It should be possible to watch the game somehow. Although I don't have any sports channels or something.
3 gewartet.
Okay, 3:15
Aktuelle Tiefe 50 Meter.
in the afternoon. Yeah, right. Let me note that. Yeah, Ireland versus Scotland. Amazing. I think I'm going to try to watch it.
Herr Kapitän,
Just a few drops of water in the bilge. And yeah, food is fine. Yeah, we didn't see any action yet. Let's see, we are already 8 days into the patrol. And this is really the first contact that we had. So let's see that we do it right. They're still on their course, but I could imagine that, yeah, come on, see. They have to pass, yeah, I think we have this bend here, and so they are gonna travel on a bit like that, and maybe only here change their course a bit more southerly. And let's do a little bit of time acceleration
Anblasen.
to finish.
25 Meter.
The hydrophone check. There we go, back to the surface.
5 Meter.
And yeah, keep in mind that it's just a quarter to midnight, and there we have the sun in the north. Very fascinating, I think. Now let's carry on. For 1 more hour.
Vor 1 gewartet.
What about them? Carrying on for 1 more hour would bring them there. And distance, yeah, still more than 20 miles. Now it's a quarter to 12, so we're gonna have to travel till quarter to 1. Let's go. 12 o'clock, half an hour passed. So all the reckoning seems to make sense. And here we are. 1 hour. Come on, let's give it a save, and shall we go for 1 more hour before we lose more time with another hydrophone check? So they would be carrying on like that, and us, we would be carrying on like that. So after another hour, yeah, we keep our distance towards them, so we should still be clear out of their radar range. So let's carry on. Quarter to 1. Let's sail on
Konvoi, wir sind aufgetaucht.
till quarter to 2. Here we are. anything to be seen on the horizon by now? Probably not. Not at 20 miles. But such a large convoy might even spread over miles just by itself. Yeah, so looking at the time, it's 2 o'clock around here now. Yeah, sometimes I do longer streams, but I've started relatively early, so this stream is already 3 hours 30 old, 3.5 hours. And yeah, I think I'm gonna turn in now. Yeah, nice. With the school, that's amazing. Yeah, but I did note that, and I'm gonna see. I think my family might also like to watch it, at least maybe my son. Yep, all right. So, as usual, it was a pleasure to have you in the stream, and thanks for the nice conversation that we had. Well, I always enjoy that very much. And yeah, Colin, have a good night. Vulvulu, have a good night. So you both have roughly the same time. So Colin, I think you have 1 hour of time difference, haven't you? But Vulvulu, I think you do have exactly the same time as we have here, I guess. Yeah, I'm sure. Let's see, Yippee Yap, he left, he's not with us again. Who is still in? Captain Jimbo, are you still there? If yes, let me thank you again for the for the raid that you did. That was great. And Aquising, if you're still there, much appreciated your company. Weight loss, same for you. And It's a Gamer, yeah, you gave me your follow. Thanks for that. Uncle Bot, not quite sure if you're still there. If yes, have a good night. Not wet, just cold. Great thinking. Yeah, you went into the stream pretty early, so I'm not quite sure if you're still there. If you are, thanks for joining and see you. Ja, schlaft gut. Have a good night. And looking forward to see you again. Bye bye, guys.